We would need another hour to read all those, huh?
You.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Great to have you here back in the room. And yeah, welcome to the second part of this event. And this is the panel talk. It's my pleasure to moderate and host this wonderful panel talk, the compatibility of career, private life, and family beyond gender, partner status, and country. And as we are also here a very international crowd, it will be really interesting to see um, um, what we can learn also from other cultures. Um, as I said, I'm the moderator here for this panel talk today, and it's really my pleasure to host this. How we will do this, I will reveal in a second the three panel participants, but we will do some interactive questions to you. We prepared some Mentimeters, and if you have questions, please also put them in the chat while kind of the panel goes on a little bit. And at the end, we will have certainly some time also to have some pull in some questions and or answers from the full audience. So with that said, let me welcome our three panelists today, and that is Claudia Hamann, Maike Petersen, and Sarah Reichert. The Sarah you already know. And let me start with Claudia Hamann. And Claudia is also in the Leading Awesome for Women program. I'm not sure, Claudia, in what cohort, but you can say that in a second. Claudia is a scientist from background and is working in a biotech company called Nanion. And there she is responsible for certain products and a product management role. But also that, Claudia, you can explain maybe a little bit more in depth. And very interesting, Claudia is sharing her leadership role with another female colleague. And we also will get to this a little bit later in the panel. But first now, Claudia, maybe quick introduction of yourself and maybe all the things I said wrong. And together with the question, how do you personally manage your work-life balance?
All right, so thanks, Bernd. No, I think you got it pretty right. So I'm a scientist. I'm a physicist by training, and first worked in science, did my PhD and a postdoc. Decided that I didn't want to stay in science and wanted to go into industry. And there I happened to stumble into a startup company where I was the ninth person to work for that company. That was 15 years ago now. And now, as I've learned, as it goes with startup companies, the experts grow into the leaders in that company. So by now, I'm kind of still always like one level below the boss as where I started. By now, I have a team of 8 scientists, product manager of our biggest product, doing the development, but kind of sharing the product manager role with a range of people as well. And I'm kind of the center of that role. And well, that's what I've learned in the last half year, that's part of my job. And also since, well, startup company, we're changing the developing, we are, as I suppose all startup companies, limping behind with putting in structures. I feel like I'm doing a lot of organizational development as well, sort of in my spare time. How do I balance work and life?
Yes.
Well, I think I used to be pretty good at it because I had boundless energy and I was just, I don't know, it sounds cheesy, work hard and play hard. So I just got sort of my balance to work easily. Then I had a health incident like about 5 years ago, and that was the point where it just completely crashed, really. So I didn't have energy left. I only worked. I didn't play anymore. When I tried, it was too much, and it just added more stress. And I fell into a big hole and just kind of needed to learn to get that balance back. I think I'm there now. It works well, but I still think it's a challenge. I mean, I notice when I get too stressed, but it's tricky to push the work aside and get the relaxation. But I think awareness is the first thing, really.
At least knowing that you are not in balance. Yeah, that's true. Thanks, Claudia, for sharing, and we will come back later to some facets of your work. And the second wonderful guest here is Maike Petersen. Hi, Maike. Actually, I don't know much about Maike. We just said 5 minutes before you came in. We just met kind of the first time we talked together. But Maike is a digital and marketing expert. She was head of marketing in different positions and companies. And I got also to know Maike through that she is co-organizing, as I understood, the Diversity and Inclusion Day 2022 in Munich. And Maike, so maybe a quick introduction of yourself here, and together with the question, what advice with regard to work-life balance would you give your 16-year-old self? So if you could turn back the wheel for, 10 years, what would you advise yourself? And a short introduction.
Thank you very much for this charming less than 10 years or something. But first, before I will answer your question, I will give you a short overview of myself. I am, most of the time I was a self-employed. I am a self-employed, and I'm like kind of a tropical bird in the world of working, because there is really no job description fitting for me, because it should be free of all. So there is no description of general job announcements fitting for me. But I will give you an overview. Yes, I am in the same time self-employed. I am working as an interim manager, and I am working together with Y Consult as a transformation enabler. All in all, I have more than 25 years in the field of marketing, and actively I'm in the context of digital marketing for, I don't know, ever 20 years or so. And it's like something, I would describe it with different words, like consultant in digital marketing, or management, or of sparring as a sparring partner, or for example, interim manager of C-level, or as a program manager, or as a project management for years and years and decades, as an innovator, a change facilitator, or just the driver of success in most of all the projects, an implementer or a doer. So call me whatever do you like and whatever you want. It will be a great success. And for me, and that will lead me to the answer, or to the question. For me, it is always, and it was always, and it will always be a great pleasure, a completely joy to working. Is not working like it is for other people. For me, it's fun, joy, and I don't know, whatever. So, but the advice to my own 60-year-old me, I'm afraid back in early times, I wasn't really good with doing the shift between leisure time and spare time and family time and working time, because I had 3 kids. I filled a life for 3 person and so on. I was completely, and I am completely over the top overloaded with everything. So my advice will be to my 16-year-old self: regard of yourself, take leisure time, chill enough, and always have a smile on your face.
Great. Thanks, Mike. And I already like your energy, and I'm connected to your job is your hobby and your hobby is your job, which sometimes makes it hard to find this really time for yourself. Last but not least, we have Sarah, and as much as we maybe know Sarah, what we maybe didn't know is that Sarah is a Texas girl, but I think you also already mentioned that. You were a Spanish teacher, and you are also a mother of 4. So 4, right?
Yeah, 4.
Not 5. And so that would be together with maybe a short introduction also, Sarah, of what could be interesting here also for this group. What do you do when you sense you are out of balance? I mean, how do you do this, right? Mother of 4, self-employed. Just maybe some practical tips or tricks you can share here, or you're doing nothing and just let the craziness run. I don't know.
Well, I always call, people ask, what's it like? Yeah, to run your own business, to have 4 kids. And I call it wonderful chaos. So it's about managing both. But I guess, first of all, I don't think there's anything to add to my introduction. I introduced myself in our kickoff. So thank you for that. I think to stay in balance, one thing that really helped me, because for a while I wasn't in balance. I remember my late 30s. I remember kind of realizing I'm getting kind of to the end, maybe like Claudia said, also kind of slowly approaching that hole, that we all come across. And I realized I was just functioning. I was doing my duty. We have so many obligations. People tell us what to do. Society tells us what to do. And again, we have this desire to, to serve everyone and to please everyone and to be perfect. And I was trying, and I realized it's just not possible, and these inner drivers were kind of driving me off balance. And so I think one thing that really helped me to get back in balance was to say, it's okay to do something for myself. Kind of like Mike, I said, that leisure time, and that's okay. And for years I thought it wasn't okay. And so to own my needs, own them, but also own my failings and own it when I say, you know what, I can't do it. And it's okay to say I can't do it. Because, I grew up in America. I can do everything. You can change the world. Yes, we can, and so I grew up with that. But I had to come to the realization that no, I can't. And that's okay. I don't have to. And so that helped me really find that balance again. And then, of course, communicating with my partner and my, people, my peers. And so that's one thing that really, really helped me. Yeah.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And good to hear. I think kind of from all three of you, and Elena is just mentioning it in the chat. It's okay not to be okay. So I like to, because I mean, also I'm not always in balance, and there are these hard times and weeks and months or even years, right? So it's to permit yourself to be not in balance, and still have, probably friends and helpful books, and from my perspective, books and articles which help me a lot to maybe then regain balance a little bit. I thought we structure a little bit this panel maybe around several topics, and the first would be Corona and the status of work. So how much did Corona and the virus affected maybe work before then we turn to other topics of work-life family balance. And we just saw it. I mean, the new normal is no longer the new normal since, what is it now, 12 days or 14 days? I missed the counting a little bit. So the war in Ukraine and all the threat going from there is maybe another topic. But if for now we could focus maybe on the time before the war, on the coronavirus situation for 2 years, what would you three guests here on the panel, what would you say? Does work-life balance need to be redefined after COVID? Was there maybe a new sense of balance within COVID, within working virtually or hybrid? And did this change now that, I mean, the pandemic is not over yet, as we see, but is there a new way of work-life balance through this hybrid working mode? What would you say? More freedoms, new freedoms, but also maybe not so structured daytime.
Well, I think that, sorry, Francesca speaking. I think that
New panel
somehow, although COVID has been a catastrophe, of course, for the humanity, it forced old management style to get to a more modern leadership style and get out of this control mode where you see your people in the office and you think that if they are in the office, they are working, although it's not always the case. And to enter into a new leadership era where you give autonomy, you empower people, and maybe it became really evident that who wasn't performing or who wasn't really dedicated to work before COVID, it got even worse after. And who was really dedicated couldn't really get out of this enormous workload. And so first positive point is really out of this control management style. And second, hard workers have learned, and I can put myself as well in the pot. Sorry, I have my camera off. I didn't realize. So we, people like me, learned how to exactly how to own our own needs. And I like very much Sarah's sentence before. So not to be fully dedicated to the others, to your boss, to your family, but also to make hard cuts and saying, okay, now I need a jog, and I go for a jog. I don't care who is calling me. And this gave us also the flexibility to organize the family needs also in a more flexible way, and maybe on a more shared way with the other partner as well, who used to be always abroad or not around. So I think personally, I can just I saw a lot of positive developments for women. Yeah. So again, it has been a disaster for the humanity, but it got people out of their comfort zone, and also old management styled people.
Absolutely.
And they had to cope with it.
Yeah. And Mike, you as digital expert, you probably worked the last 20 years digital, at least in my fantasy. But what would you say? Is there, or did your work and your work-life balance change over COVID, or was it even more easier for you to work in a digital way?
So my situation was different, but not because of COVID. My situation was different because of a private catastrophe in my family. And for this, COVID was my survival modus, because I was able to stay at home and take time for family care by fully taking my job honestly and having sprints and leading the team and so on without a break in delivering, but having much more time and presence here at home. So for me, COVID was my
saver. You savor the
without
rescue.
COVID, I wouldn't be been able to manage it. But you mentioned the situation in general. Home office and working from a distance, working remote is nothing new for me. So this made it much easier for me and my team to work from one day to another in the situation. But definitely COVID gave us a great chance, is a great chance, because in my opinion, we all in general, the work surrounding, we are much more human, and we do have much more sense for other needs and the different needs of different people, because approximately we saw a classically leader guy before in suits and afterwards having children on his or next to him or whatever. So or in the back we saw whatever household stuffs, and we are all the same. It's nothing specific. Being a leader, we are just persons, and I think the human part stretched out much more, not for every company, because there are a lot of companies being back in the past and they will always stay in the past, but for most of my surroundings, for most of companies, it is a chance to understand that there are humans working for me as a company, and in the future I do need much more these humans because of lack of worker capabilities and so on. So please take good care of your humans.
Absolutely, and I would agree. You totally got to know your colleagues from totally different angles, maybe more private stuff, right? How many living rooms and kitchens you have seen, but also the circumstances, the context that these people are or were in, and even my son interrupted a couple of times different meetings, but it got okay, right? And so I like this equality aspect of that, and to see the human again in the colleague, and so I really like what you said. Sarah or Claudia, what would you say? Anything to add, and or what would you said through Corona? How was maybe development or career development? Was it more easier? Did it change? Did 2 years nothing happen? Did we just try to organize everything and our life and the digital work or the hybrid work? Anything to add, Sarah or Claudia?
Yeah, I mean, I think one interesting, when COVID hit, I lost 98% of my business like overnight. And I was like, what am I going to do? And so it took a while. Then we started to putting everything online, all my meetings, projects. And so that was good because I do a lot of training and coaching, and which normally is great face to face. And so that was working well. And then you remember in 2020, I think it was like in October, there was like, oh, maybe we're out of it. We didn't know. We were all babies, COVID babies. And I remember once my daughter heard on the news, my youngest, she's 11, and she heard, yeah, maybe there's going to be, loosening of, and travel could be possible again. And I saw her crying in her room. And I said, what's wrong? And she said, are you going to start traveling again?
Oh.
It broke my heart. And, because now, I mean, I'm mommy's home every night, and I'm just downstairs, and so I think yeah, you're talking about, Micah, that human aspect and that personal aspect, and just getting that in balance again, and just kind of reasserting what is important. And so I think now there could be a shift back, hybrid, whatever the new normal looks like, because I think we've had an injection of what's really important. Humanity's gotten a reminder, of what really matters. And I'm positive, optimistic that whatever it looks like going back, it will be with a sense of a new perspective. I don't know. That's kind of the way I see it. Claudia, would you add anything?
Yeah, well, my experience was somehow different because in some way for me not much changed. Like I don't have children, so I didn't have that issue. I was in quarantine a couple of times where I stayed home and worked from home, but I could even go into work, and lots of my colleagues came as well because we've got lab work to do and we can't do that from home. It's to me it was really more that sort of the free time, kind of the life broke away a bit, because I used to get out a lot and not stay home, and I kind of had to learn to be content with that as well, or find other things to do. Yeah, but in some way I had a cushy COVID time, really.
Yeah, but I think hard to that COVID then broke kind of the private balance you had, right? And I know it also from other colleagues. Some also no kids or single, and it was really hard for them because work was also a lot of their private time, and they got energy from it, and so that was really, I think, a big changer. And Claudia, while you're talking, maybe now is the right moment. To maybe talk a little bit about how you split up your leadership position together with a colleague. I think it was before COVID, right? It was not due to COVID. But maybe can you tell us a little bit about it? So why did you did it? How did you did it? How did you make your boss to agree to it? What maybe to look out for if you are thinking of it? And the biggest question was also, or how did it change your work-life balance, or did it just change the work balance? Yeah, just let us maybe know with that really unique experience.
Yeah, well, I suppose for me that whole thing had to happen. I mean, I already mentioned I had health issues and my energy levels dropped. It was like somebody pulled the plug, and I had just barely the energy, or maybe not even to do my work. And I don't know. I decided in the beginning, when I noticed that was the case, I said, I'll do this for a year. to kind of have no life besides work. And if nothing has changed by then, I reevaluate. But by the time the year had passed, it was too late. Like I'd sort of dropped into a big hole and burned. I think that was the time when we actually met. And for the first time, I wasn't in a good state. But at the same time, I think I was still lucky enough that I caught it early, which sounds strange. But I caught it at the point where I said, I just can't work 100% anymore. It doesn't work anymore. If I keep doing this, I'm just completely out. And I didn't want that. And the lucky thing was that my boss didn't want that either. So we agreed on cutting down time. And I dropped down to 50%. And there the big question came up. So what are you going to do when you work 50%? Do you keep your leadership role or do you change? And at that time, I had sort of 3 bosses and opinions differed in that group, what is going to happen. But in the end, decision was I stay in my role and I get a partner on my side. So I've got Nadine, which we luckily had in the company as well. We said she's going to organize my team for me. And yeah, I think, I mean, how did I convince my boss that we should do it that way? I didn't need to convince him because he wanted me to be there and stay. He needed me or thought he needed me, however, whatever it was. So for him, it was better for me to be there 50% and keep doing what I was doing than being completely gone. And I mean, in hindsight, I think I was just like so lucky to get Nadine on my side that we actually picked her. Because in the end, I think it really comes down to whether you have the right partner to do that, to share the job with. We I don't know, don't say that in English, but we tick very similar, like we've got very similar ways in doing things. We've got a common understanding. And it's funny, like by now, like I'm back to, well, I'm working 80% now. I don't know, we're both overworked. We both have too much on our table. I think that split of job would have needed to happen at some stage anyway. It was just sort of my health thing that forced it, that we split the roles earlier. And I think so how it worked. I mean, I thought about what should I do, what should Nadine do, came up with the suggestion. We split it, and it's actually funny, we never really readjusted. It just worked from the first day on. And the other thing I think that's really why it works is that Nadine and I, we're just really there to do the job. Like there's no ego behind it. We're both looking really after each other. We always have that conscious when we push some job onto the other's table because we know the other one is really busy too, and it just feels that we're really supporting each other and appreciate each other and respect each other. And it's just, I don't know, biggest pot of gold that I could have won.
Yeah. And even through Corona, it worked. And it sounds like you would do it again, right? And you said it would have been anyhow time. So great. And I mean, if you want to know more maybe about this tandem employment as a leader, as a manager, feel free to approach Claudia. And I think also nice, you said also this awareness that you were not able to take on all the stress anymore. So one of the strategies, and I think that also goes for men or any gender. I mean, be aware of, you know, what is stressing you, and is it already too much, and are you over the edge, and then change something. It reminds me when I did some changes, and I also gave away my leadership position in the banking industry a couple of years, 5 years ago. I was in banking now, 20 years ago, and there also my boss said, yeah, sure, what can we do for you, and how can we support you? And that was really great to have somebody who reacts to that in that way. With that said, I think in this point or in this question is also like, how do we value things? And normally a leader, right, needs to be strong and 100%, not just 80, not just 60%. And, you know, why split it up between 2 persons? So question, Maike, maybe how do you see the value of being a leader? Does it always have to be the strong woman or the strong man and just, you know, doing the job and 120%? Or how is it in your company? Would that be a model for you to even split up, or have you split up maybe even some leadership responsibilities?
So I'm working as a self-employed, so it's not a good idea to split this up. But um, for me in person, it is very important to be 100% transparent regarding to the team, to the company, and to the work surrounding as a leader. And it is good to fail as a leader and to say, sorry, today is not my best day. I'm staying on the couch. So I made it very clear 2020 was not it was my baddest year, honestly. And the point is, every time I communicated it absolutely transparent. This is the situation. Today I don't turn on the camera and so on, whatever, and make it much clear. But it is not affecting my leadership because it is me as a human and me as a leader. There's nothing wrong with being a leader and don't be able or being depressed or whatever it is, whatever it is to be so. But this does not. What is it? It doesn't depend on your leadership, because if you do it well with your team, if you communicate well with your team, that's the most important thing. And you can do it also from the couch or from hospital or whatever the situation is. And to be to have eye-to-eye contact with the team, not only via call, but from the combining. So being together with your mindset, being on one line with the tasks, being fair and being an innovative corporate leader is much, 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 much more worth and important than being whatever the outside think you are. Don't have the mood to jump in your trousers in your business suites. So leave it behind. But there is nothing to change to be a good leader. So I think it's both possible. It depends on the company, definitely. It depends on the branch. It depends on everything. I, as a self-employed, I am out of order because I don't have annual meetings with my boss. I don't have a boss.
You
You
have meetings with yourself.
I have meetings with myself, and I commit to a company for a project. And if they do like me and they do take me as I am, then it's okay. If I don't like them, I leave them. So I'm really the older I became, the more clear I am with this. I don't spend a single minute in things that are not worth to spend in.
Right. And that's I could imagine sometimes different in when you're in a system, right? When you're in a corporate company or whatever. But I think also there you can decide whether what do I say and what don't I say? Because we had, for example, in the chat, I see a question from Anna: how much emotion and honesty about emotion is allowed in business or in some corporations? And yes, in some it is or it is not. But I think you always could try to stay honest to yourself, right? And be the colleague you want to see. Let's maybe pull in more ideas here around this topic of what is valued, or what is society maybe valuing around you. And we prepared a little Mentimeter. Let me quickly see if I can find it. Yes, here we go. So we would like you to go to menti.com and use this code 16250084 and enter the question: what is valued more in society? Is in the society you live in? So we certainly have here participants from all around the world. So in your reality, let's put it this way: what is valued more in the society you live? Is it work? Is it taking care of the own family if you have one? Is it maybe hobbies or this leisure time, these private things you're doing? Or is it taking care, for example, of parents, elderly care, and so on? So just, go to Menti, and the first results are coming in. And Sarah, you can already prepare on the question whether you will be surprised by the results or not, and how do you see it. But let's just wait a couple of minutes or seconds for more people to fill in. So work is still number one, then comes the own family, then hobbies, and then, for example, taking care, elderly care of the own parents. Let's wait a couple of seconds. Hobbies, parents. There's a fight around place 3 and 4. So Sarah, what would you say if you read this? What comes to your mind? How do you interpret this?
Yeah, well, I guess it doesn't surprise me. Because again, for a long time, I had this sense of, what I have to do to be successful. My success depends on my career. But when all my girlfriends were out starting their careers, I was at home having babies, and I grew up with that and struggled with it. So in a way, it doesn't surprise me. It makes me sad. Yeah. But there is, I don't know what the final vote would be, but I think there is, and maybe that is something that I don't know. COVID has shown us, and the crisis that our world has experienced or are currently experiencing. What is really important. What is, at the end of my life, what is going to matter? Did I have this amazing career, or did I have a purpose? Did I live it, and did I, make my mark on, if it was my kids or my colleagues or my customers, whatever. And I think, yeah, that's my hope, is that we get to that it's not just about work. Or I don't know who said it, Claudia or Micah, but I'm also a huge believer that work should be fun. Work should be a part of our purpose, and should fit in with who we are, and whatever that is. And so, yeah, in a way, it didn't surprise me, but I think, I'm very optimistic that maybe we are moving in the right direction. And, in something like this, when we join the conversation, we talk, we exchange, I think that's also kind of a boost for us to do our part, whatever it is, to switch the scale, so to say. Yeah.
And any ideas of so Claudia, Micah, Sarah, or even anybody who wants to join, how do you, if you feel pushed by society, or we had it also in the chat, if work, my boss, family, to society requires something from me, how do you kind of maybe push this away? So if you have a different order for you personally, but still feel kind of these society or boss or work or colleagues are pushing, are requiring, are valuing things differently. How do you cope with that, or how would you say, how do you kind of integrate? We heard a little bit from Micah that I'm myself and I will tell everybody, but I stay in contact, so conversation. But how do you cope with these requirements we are all kind of feeling from time to time?
I'll just quickly say, and then I'll hand it over to Claudia. I think exactly what Micah said. You have to know what's worth it and what's not worth it. For me, it's really having a sense of my purpose. What is my personal why? Yeah, and that is my guiding light. And to use that as my North Star to make decisions, career decisions, family decisions. And for me, I believe my purpose, and I've been given this gift of life. Yeah, and I love life, and I love to laugh, and I love to have fun, and I love to learn, and I'm curious, and so my purpose, that I can only hope that I can kind of pass on that gift to other people, my kids, my partner, my colleagues, and that helps me. That helps me get a sense of what to do when society is coming in and demanding, do this, do this. No, I don't have to. Yeah, I don't know, Claudia, what's your secret?
Yeah, I just feel like I'm sort of saying the same thing as with the COVID. Like, I'm in some way, I feel in the lucky position that I don't feel I've got too many people on the outside pushing me to work or family things, or that there's expectations, or maybe I'm just very good at ignoring them. And I think I get work put on my table, but also, again, with sort of coming from a small startup company, it's the company is really relying on self-motivation. Like my boss doesn't put things on my table and says you need to have this done by Monday. Like I do that myself. So it's, for me, it's really about prioritizing myself. So in some way, even though it's not right, it feels like self-employment, and trying to find the balance between work and life. And if it gets out of balance, I need to prioritize my work differently, that there is more time for life. And I suppose with the hobbies I've had, like I don't know, I'm going into the outdoors a lot. There's a big ratio of people there that values life more than work. So it's sort of the hobbies, in a big part of the people I interact with, the hobbies is actually on the top level there. So in that sense, I suppose I've been always really lucky that, I mean, I'm torn between the two worlds. Like I can work hard and I can lose myself in there because I enjoy it as well. But I also have this thing that draws me to my hobbies. So, yeah.
I see. An interesting point I think you raised there. This how do you cope with the colleague says no? So how do you cope with this as a manager, as a leader, if your colleagues or employees are kind of looking after their work-life balance? So you want them, that something is done until Monday morning, and they say no, sorry, it's 5 o'clock, and I will leave. Or are we tempted, or you, Claudia, but also others chime in, to kind of like more these employees who are single and always have time to take on the extra job and so on. What would you say? How do you cope with when somebody keeps his work-life balance, and or how where are you tempted to work more with colleagues? Mike, I don't know. Was that raising hand? Yeah.
Yeah, because I need to answer. I think it depends on two different things. First, I expect from every single person in my work surrounding being same as passionate about work as me. I know it's hard, but it's the level of agreement. And with this, when I work and when my team works, we work seriously. So, but when working time is over, and then I have a role as a leader to take care of all my team members and protect them, and standing in front of them if company says no, please take overtime, whatever, forget your children, you have to do this and this. I say no. It's a human with rights, and he did very well work the last whatever hours or whatever the job was, but now it's over. Sorry. And I'm standing for the rights for the people at this moment, because this is my damn job to do as a leader, in my opinion, to take care of the people working with me. And for this, it is important to work as hard as you can when working time is, and when not, it's not. Point.
Sarah, Claudia, any
Yeah,
other
I totally
perspective?
agree there. I mean, it's as I said, we're sort of the scientist startup mentality still here, expecting everybody, and it usually is that way with the self-motivation. And if I've got colleagues or people in my team who are passionate, committed, and really pour in everything during the work hours, and if there's a demo tomorrow, they work late, I do expect them to take their free time too, because I mean, I've seen it myself. If I do too much, eventually I don't perform anymore, and I can't even work the time I have. And I think everybody really profits from having a work-life balance.
Yeah.
And if that's not possible anymore, there's something wrong with the company, how many tasks it takes on, and how you organize your team, and what you're actually pouring into the team.
Yeah, it's probably the structural problem or something. Great. Let's take this discussion here, this panel, a little bit to another dimension of diversity, which is age. And again, I prepared a little Menti for you guys, for the audience, for everybody. So again, if you would go to Menti and give in the code 16250084. And maybe the question, or just write your answers there with regard to work-life balance. Is there a difference for 45, 55 plus year old human compared to maybe a 20-year-old or 25-year-old self and or human? And if yes, what would it be? So what through the age, so to speak, are the aspects of work-life balance that maybe need to taken more or less into consideration? So either for you personally or what comes out of what you see with your colleagues, with your employees, maybe some experience from the past you had. Let's see if some comments are coming in. I am much more experienced to stay calm in stressful situations. Yeah, that's what sometimes age brings with us. Not everything is so important, and or we can cope better with it. The older you are, the more worth its time. Absolutely. Individually, yes, becoming more mindful, but generations adapt fast. That's true. Take topics seriously, not yourself so much. Yeah, I know that. I took myself, I think, a lot too serious. Great. Wow, a lot of answers here. Stage in life, interested in life experience. Enjoy the new possibilities of location, independent way of working, children to take care of. Absolutely. Right, Maike, Sarah, or Claudia, anything that jumps to your eye, anything you can connect to from the answers we get here?
I can connect with everything.
And which one most?
Well, I don't see them all. If you could scroll up, but I mean, I guess the whole thing about just knowing what's really important, not taking yourself so seriously. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall on your face, and that's okay. And also not to please people. Sure, I mean, you want to make a good impression, and but I mean, just not to. Yeah, it's not all about that, because you can't please everyone. I mean, it's just impossible. One thing I was going to write one, but I didn't have to. I was too slow. Young people often are told, I do with a lot of work with a lot of talents. Dream, just you can do it. Just dream. Never stop dreaming. Are we? I mean, I'm 43. Okay, I'm happy to say my age. I don't know when the last time someone told me, Sarah, just dream. Just dream. Just why we're not told to. I don't know. At least yeah, I just something I just was thinking about. But anyways, no, yeah. I don't know if I answered your question, Ben, but no, that was
good. No, it's
good.
this came to your mind. That was my question. What
Yeah.
did you connect to? What comes to your mind?
Yeah.
Claudia or Maike, anything?
Yeah, I'm connecting with this. Like you get older, you know your priorities better, you know yourself better, you don't have all the time in the world anymore. And I'm at an age now, like I don't think about retirement yet, but I've got friends who do, and who have friends who are retiring yet. And it's like, I mean, to me, it's inconceivable what that would actually be like, and not a goal. But I think, yeah, this valuing your time more and not spending it for other people and not your own goals, I think is a big thing when you get older.
An interesting aspect, right? That we think, and maybe not Mike and Sarah as self-employed so much, and myself of retirement with 60 something, but couldn't be work also, as Mike has said it, the passion we anyhow have. So work is hobby is work. So why does work always seem to be such an extra thing? At least in our Western or especially German society here. That's something interesting I reflect on a lot while changing between self-employed and not self-employed. Okay, let's do and it's probably the second last question. Let's do a little game here, a little experiments. So imagine one of the diversity dimensions, for example, age or status. Are you single or not single? Children, not children, etc. So imagine one of the dimensions you are not in. So it could be the old, it could be the single, it could be with children, without children, and so on, or even in different cultural zones coming from education. But what would you say with regard to work-life balance? What does somebody in this dimension you are not in, what does he or she needs from you, if you would be, for example, their leader, their manager, and so on? So anything that singles, having kids, or any dimensions you're not in would need from you more, or how could you support them in their work-life balance? Any ideas? Some allyship question, I know, but
For me, it's diversity is as same as having or regarding the different needs of different kinds of people. You mentioned, for example, children or not children, but it's much more. It's, for example, elder care, but at the same time, the need of working a 4-day a week, or working only in the early morning because whatever, or working remote from which country, whatever. So these kind of different needs are the important things to take care of. And as a leader or as a company, for me, it's important to make it possible. So find ways how to connect the team, how can the team working asynchronous together, for example, working in collaboration tools and whatever is important, but it is necessary and more, it will be more in the future to take care of these different needs and different diversity aspects as well. So just put all these diverse aspects in one sentence. It is important as an employer, as a team lead, as an whatever, to take care of your humans, because human capital will be rarer than it is today. And the more the company will go ahead into the future, the more it needs to take care of the human capital.
I would just jump in and say, I was in this group, I'm not in anymore, but let's say I'm a mother with a young baby. I just returned from my maternity leave. I'm still breastfeeding. I'm working part-time. I would want my boss, to create an environment that I'm not treated as an anomaly, that a delicate porcelain doll that might break if but also if I take a day off, I'm not treated as, oh, she's just working half time anyways, that I don't feel like I am somehow penalized or secluded because I'm working part-time and I have a new baby at home. And somehow just ensure that,
cool.
Claudia,
you any advice or anything you could do to help others have a greater work-life balance?
Yeah, well, suppose I've got a team of young humans that have lots of babies these days. and we do have that challenge that I think we've got within the last year 3 babies, or maybe even 4 in a team of 8 people. And
wow.
Yeah, I mean, my case, you say you've got to make it possible, because I mean, I love my people and I need to keep them, and I want to make it possible. And in the end, it's a give and take. Like I say, I have self-motivated people. They're committed. They're passionate. That's what they bring, and I've got to give them that they can actually stay that way. And if that means more flexibility, yeah, child is sick, you've got to stay home, sure, do it. But yeah, it's that investment into the human resource there.
Yeah. Thanks very much already to you 3, Sarah, Michael, Claudia. We're coming to the end of the hour here, and I would like to open up a little bit the floor here. But first of all, thanks very much for being here, the panel guests today. And the kind of opening the floor question for the last 5 minutes would be, why should we have as leaders these discussions? And or Maike also touched a little bit on this. Why should companies care maybe more about such dialogue, such discussion around the compatibility of career, life, family, and so on? So what do you guys think, or any other remarks, any unanswered questions yet? Maybe you have to the panel guests or to yourself. I just open up the floor. Why should we think of leaders more about this question of compatibility?
I think it's gonna be a bigger topic, Anna speaking. In fact, I'm just in the way to move up to a new job. And then when I told it to my boss a few weeks ago, he said he was really surprised because I came back from maternityhood in November only. And then he already has another colleague of mine, I didn't know about it. He's going to be on Elternzeit, parental time, for half a year, going this upcoming autumn. So half a year to go. I'm in a male team only woman. And he was kind of, oh my God, how to deal with that topic that this guy is now going for half a year for parental leave, and Anna is going as well. So how to deal with that? So that's really interesting. And I think it's just going to be much more up to date, that there will be sabbaticals to be filled in, parental times, elder care. We need to be prepared for that, and bosses should not be surprised.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Anna. And thanks for that statement and the personal sharing. Anybody else who wants to share something or have a last statement here?
Maybe I can give a short statement. This is Susanne speaking.
Yeah.
I recently turned 50, so the time of my parental leave is already a couple of years ago, and at that time, actually, I went on parental leave and continued working part-time, which made me being very exotic at that time. A mother who comes back after 8 weeks and continues. I mean, I worked like 25 hours a week for the first year and then went back full time. And the same for the second kid. But what was even more confusing was that my husband went on parental leave as well and did the same thing. So he worked part-time as well, because that was
Cool.
the only way how we could manage, because there was no childcare, kindergarten, whatever, for a baby which was only 8 weeks old. So at that time, that was very, very exotic, and things have changed a bit. And of course, most people stay home for a year now, at least here in Germany, because that's Elternzeit, parental leave. But then what I realize when I look at my team is that it's pretty normal in the meantime that even the men take parental leave time. And it's my job as a manager at the moment to support them, in order to make their lives, the lives of my people, easier than my life was 20 years ago.
Great. Yeah. Wonderful. I love that. And yeah, that could be maybe a nice closing statement. That and that was the allyship question. So think of another dimension. How can we make each other's life more easy? But also, I mean, hang in there. And we are not always in balance. So thank you everybody for this great panel talk. If you want to stay here in the call and hang out and share more and ask more questions, please feel free to do so. I will just leave the call open, but it was really my pleasure to host you, and big thank you again to all the especially the 3 panel guests, but also all the audience and all your nice remarks and great questions there. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank